Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, June 23, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by a ridge of high pressure that's usually responsible for an easterly flow of trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean, which usually causes whatever comes off of Africa to move from east to west. And we have a tropical wave that has left the coast of Africa many days ago, that's now to the west of Jamaica. We can see tropical storm Bret right there in the southeastern Caribbean, and to the east of Bret we see tropical storm Cindy in the main development region. If we take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that tropical wave to the west of Jamaica, bringing some amount of overcast skies, showers and thunderstorms to sections of maybe the Cayman Islands, and it's moving towards the west. So maybe portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, and maybe even sections of Belize might get in on some of that cloud cover and rainfall later on down the road. We can see the clouds associated with tropical storm Bret right there in the southeastern Caribbean, right there off to the east of the ABC Island. We can also see the naked swirl associated with tropical storm Bret to indicate that it's being sheared off towards the east with that low level spinner right there coming westward. So it will continue to maintain that westward trajectory and not really affect the islands of the Greater Antilles, Hispaniola, Jamaica, Cuba. And we can also see the clouds associated with tropical storm Cindy right there across the main development region, and that's projected to move towards the northwest, not really affecting the Caribbean. We can also still see that we have numerous tropical waves still coming off of the coast of Africa right there. If we take a look at the projected path of tropical storm Bret from the U.S. National Hurricane Center, we can see that yes, Bret is still moving towards the west, and we can see the gold shadings right there that indicate the tropical storm force winds. So it's basically a fish storm going to be affecting the waters of the Caribbean Sea. So any fishers or marine interests that are out there, please ensure that you take the necessary precautions so that you're not that drastically affected. It is currently packing winds of 50 miles per hour and it's still moving towards the west at 21 miles per hour. If we take a look at tropical storm Cindy, we can still see it right there across the main development region, and this one is projected to move towards the northwest and then possibly weaken right there to the north of Puerto Rico. It is also packing winds of 50 miles per hour and it is moving towards the west northwest at 16 miles per hour. If we take a look at the projected path from the Euro model for tropical storm Bret and even tropical storm Cindy, let's see if Jamaica might get it on some amount of rainfall. So look at where Bret is by 7 a.m. on Sunday. It's right there to the far south of Jamaica, and we see some of the greens that represent the rainfall associated with Bret, possibly making it across sections of eastern Jamaica. What does the GFS model show for the same time period? Alright, so something similar with the position of the system, but not much of Bret's greens that represent rainfall across the Jamaica area at all. Let's skip ahead even more to about 7 p.m. on Sunday. So we see that we have some amount of greens across the Jamaica area, maybe associated with Bret. That's on the GFS model. What about the Euro model? So we see the greens that represent rainfall, so we might just get in on some passing shower or two across the Jamaica area for that time period. Taking a look at what happened across Jamaica for today, we didn't have much of anything across the area, mainly some passing clouds, mainly a sunny day across the Jamaica area. However, we did have a brief isolated thunder shower across sections of Hanover right there, as indicated by the high cold cloud tops that brought some amount of overcast skies, and the sparkling white dots right there, that means some amount of lightning strikes or lightning flashes. So definitely western Hanover got in on some of that afternoon rainfall. And if we actually take a look at the current Doppler radar images, we can see some greens that represent some rainfall associated with that tropical wave that has now pushed off towards the west of the island. Taking a look at the temperatures for tonight, we can see that we have 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 28 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and as usual as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. As relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see some contrasting differences between what the Euro model is showing and what the GFS model is showing. The Euro model is showing for 18th on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, we should be getting some yellows or some goldish kind of shades that represent at least 2 degrees Celsius above average temperatures across Jamaica. GFS is not showing so much. We're actually in the clear. We're actually in the average temperature range for the same time on Saturday. So we have some amount of disagreement either way. If the Euro model wins, we know that we're going to be getting more than the average, and we know that the average temperatures for the month of June across Jamaica is about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and when we take a look at the thermometer, that's about the equivalent of 32.2 degrees Celsius. So if this actually validates to what the Euro model is showing, we should be getting anywhere from about 32 to 34.4 degrees Celsius at most. As relates to the dry air map, we can still see some amount of dry air across the Caribbean region. The dry air is represented by the yellow shadings. We move to the right, and the more red and the white within those red it gets, that's the driest amount of air. And we see the driest air right there off the coast of Africa. If we actually take a look at the Saharan dust forecast, we see some amount of Saharan dust across the Caribbean basin. This is valid for 2 p.m. on Saturday. We see the slight browns that represent some Saharan dust, but it is not that robust like what we got in the summer of 2020, where we could even taste the dust and see all of the hazy conditions, making visibility low with the hills and the landscape. It's not anything like that. It's just some slight Saharan dust. If we're going to be getting robust Saharan dust, we're going to be seeing some more darker shades of brown. So right now we're on the lighter scale end across majority of the Caribbean region. So that's where we're getting it right now across Jamaica for 2 p.m. on Saturday. So it might still trigger some, allergic reactions or maybe some sinusitis or asthmatic conditions in some individuals. But it's not that drastic where we don't see the blue of the sky or there is a lack of visibility when we look over in the hills. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that Jamaica is being surrounded by a lot of blues, and if we look at the key at the bottom right, that represents up to at least 1.5 meter wave height, and that's due to the fact that we won't be receiving some strong winds tomorrow. We're going to be receiving an easterly flow of winds across the island for tomorrow, but look where we have those darker shades of blue. We have it across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes, especially southern parishes right there. And what usually happens in the afternoon hours when we have those darker shades of blues across those areas, we have that buildup of clouds. So those cumulus clouds become cumulonimbus clouds. Then we have some amount of afternoon convection, and with the wind shear possibly coming in from the northwest, the afternoon convection is definitely going to be favoring some southern parishes in Jamaica. So maybe St. Thomas, Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, definitely going to be getting in on some amount of afternoon rainfall. If we actually take a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, we can see that as early as 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 1 a.m. Jamaica time, we can see some blues that represent rainfall across sections of Eastern Jamaica. And we know Eastern Jamaica, we're talking about the parishes in the county of Surrey, so Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston and St. Andrew. That's definitely where both models are showing rainfall for that time. And we know that when we have consensus like this, when we have agreement, when both of these models, Euro and the GFS, are showing much of the same thing, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. So definitely some rainfall in store Early morning rainfall across sections of eastern and even sections of some northern parishes, so it might even spill into portions of St. Mary as well. Skipping ahead to about 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 a.m. Jamaica time, we see the blues now across mainly northern parishes right there, and we see the consensus, we see the agreement. So maybe St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland might get in on some of that rainfall. So that's 7 a.m. definitely bringing some more central parishes or northern parishes into the mix. So St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. And then skipping ahead to about 3 p.m. now, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. So 2 p.m. we see more blues and even some darker shades of blues across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica, with majority of the darkest shades of blues across southern Jamaica. So definitely some rainfall in store for those areas that we mentioned earlier, where the air is going to be piling up and causing some amount of afternoon convection. So try to get that laundry done early. Even up to 4 p.m. Jamaica time, we still see much of the same, especially across southwestern Jamaica right there. So maybe sections of Manchester, St. Elizabeth might get in on some of that. And if you actually take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast by both the Euro and the GFS models, we see the confirmation with the rainfall that we're going to be getting. So definitely some rainfall is coming for sections of the island tomorrow. The Euro is showing up to at least 0.31 of an inch of rainfall, while the GFS is showing up to at least 0.38 of an inch of rainfall, and that's mainly in the morning hours across northeastern Jamaica, while in the afternoon up to 0.37 of an inch of Jamaica of rainfall across sections of some southwestern parishes, so maybe St. Elizabeth as well. Either way, we're definitely going to be receiving rainfall across the island for tomorrow, even although it's not going to be some tremendous amount of rainfall. Definitely coming especially for southern Jamaica. And we're indeed grateful that we're going to be receiving all of this rainfall, considering that we're in our secondary rainy season. June is one of those months, and we usually receive up to 133 millimeters of rainfall during this month. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of dent in the current hydrological drought that we're experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we had Tropical Storm Bret that affected portions of the Windward and Leeward Islands. So anywhere from Guadeloupe southward, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. Not to mention Barbados got in on some amount of rainfall. We even had some video proof on Twitter and YouTube, even TikTok, with those high waves crashing into the shore. Not to mention some rainfall that triggers some amount of isolated flash flooding across some spots. So it wasn't as bad as it was projected to be, and we're indeed grateful for that. And it has now passed. Either way, the hurricane season is not over. We're still at the beginning, and the reason why there's so much hype over these two tropical systems, Tropical Storm Bret, Tropical Storm Cindy, is because we don't usually receive systems this far eastward. We usually look closer to home, maybe the Western Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, Jamaica right there. That's where we normally see the most activity happening at this time of year. We don't usually look to the main development region until August, September. So to see this happening is quite unprecedented. We can also see a lot of clouds across sections of Central America. As usual, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, Costa Rica getting in on those overcast sky showers and thunderstorms. You can also see some rainfall across sections of Florida as well. Taking a look at the Doppler radar images across the northeastern Caribbean for today, we can see that yes, we indeed had some rainfall across sections of Puerto Rico, stretching from eastern Puerto Rico to western Puerto Rico, especially across southwestern Puerto Rico, where they indeed had some very heavy thunderstorms right there. We can also see some rainfall across sections of the British Virgin Islands, maybe across sections of the US Virgin Islands as well. We also had some rainfall across sections of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, maybe sections of St. Bart, St. John's, St. Kitts, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda. And we can also see that heavy rainfall still affecting portions of Martinique and St. Lucia at this time. So they indeed got drenched, and they are still being drenched right now by the outer bands of Tropical Storm Bret. And we can see this better on the Barbados radar, with majority of the rainfall right there to the west of Barbados. Some light rainfall off the coast of western Barbados at this time, with the heaviest of the rainfall right now across sections of St. Lucia and Martinique at this time. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see on this ABC Island radar, we can see some rainfall coming in from the northeast associated with Tropical Storm Bret's outer band. So definitely some rainfall across the ABC Islands for tonight into tomorrow. You can also see some rainfall right there across sections of Mexico, sections of Guatemala, sections of the waters to the south and west of the Cayman Islands associated with that tropical wave, Cuba, Florida, and we can also see some rainfall to the east of Nicaragua. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see average to slightly above average temperature stretching all the way from the eastern Caribbean to the western Caribbean, with the most above normal temperatures indicated by the reds that represent up to at least 7 degrees Celsius or more across sections of Texas and Mexico, where they're actually encountering a tremendous heat wave at this time. And as usual, when it comes to heat waves, we know that we are supposed to try to stay as hydrated as possible and stay out of the sun. Let us take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Saturday. We can still see some slight hazy weather across sections of the Caribbean. It won't be that robust. If it would have been that robust, we would see some darker shades of browns, and all of that is right there off the west coast of Africa. Not much in the way of Saharan dust in the forecast at this time, and we're indeed grateful for that. Let us take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow. As usual, the highest waves are right there wherever we have the tropical systems. So Tropical Storm Bret is going to be south of Hispaniola for tomorrow. This is 12 p.m. on Saturday, so it makes sense that the highest waves are going to be right there to the south of Hispaniola, as indicated by those purples and red shades that represent up to 2-meter wave heights or more. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models. Now know that when both models are showing the same thing, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. And if we actually take a look, we can also see the highest waves right there to the east of the Caribbean associated with Tropical Storm Cindy. So just like what we stated, wherever we have these systems, that's where the highest waves are going to be located, and that's due to the fact that the strongest winds are going to be in those areas as well. So we see up to 25 or more knot winds to the south of Hispaniola tomorrow associated with Tropical Storm Bret, and the same for Tropical Storm Cindy to the far east of the Leeward Islands for 12 p.m. on Saturday. Alright, so let us take a look at the precipitation forecast. Both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday. And we can see that we indeed have more rainfall to receive across sections of the eastern Caribbean. So anywhere from Guadeloupe southward, maybe Dominica, sections of Barbados, sections of Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada. If they're not already receiving the rainfall tonight into tomorrow morning, then they could be receiving all of that up until 10 p.m. on Saturday. You can also see some rainfall across sections of French Guiana, Suriname, Guyana, especially Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras as usual, Belize. It's like what we stated earlier, Belize might get in on some of that rainfall from the tropical wave. Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, Guatemala as well, and we see much of the same on the GFS models right as well. You see, when both models are showing the same thing as usual, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Even the waters of the southeastern Caribbean are forecast to receive a lot of rainfall, and that's associated with Tropical Storm Bret. Even the waters of the main development region right there forecast to receive a lot of rainfall, that's associated with Tropical Storm Cindy. So it makes sense that we have those shadings across the waters. We can also see some rainfall in store for sections of western Cuba, sections of Florida, sections of the Bahamas as well. We can see some rainfall, but not that drastic, across sections of eastern Cuba, Jamaica, Hispaniola, and Puerto Rico as well. And the fact that both models are showing much of the same thing, we know that it is definitely certain for it to happen. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.